So, good morning, everybody. I see that already a lot of people have joined. We will just wait for the rest of the people to connect. And then I think 1 past, max 2 past 10, we will begin with the webinar. Maybe in the meantime, if you can all hear me well, just a little bit like a technology check. Could you just give me a thumbs up or this hand raise symbol to make sure that, okay, perfect, thanks. See a lot of hands raised, so perfect. So sound seems to be fine. And yeah, let's maybe wait 1 or 2 more minutes and then we will get started. So once again, for the new people that have joined, warm welcome. We still see a stream of people coming in, which is very nice, but it means we will just give it maybe 1 more minute so that everybody's in and settled, and then we will begin shortly. So seems the stream of person joining us has finished. And yeah, but then let's begin. So everybody that maybe has raised the voice because raised the hand in the side panel for the technology check, maybe you can just inactivate it, that we can use it later on for any other things that pop up. And yeah, so warm welcome. I'm happy to see that so many of you are joining us today for this webinar where we share what IamIP has been doing in the AI space. My name is Victor, and I think many of you know me already, but as we as well have a number of new persons in this webinar today, I want to just very briefly take the chance and share to all of you who I am. So I'm basically having 2 roles at IamIP. On the one hand, I'm heading our customer success team, so the people that basically make the onboarding with new customers, make training and help them in using IamIP to its full potential. And the second role, which is a bit more connected to today's webinar, is that I'm as well the product manager and aligning together with you, our customers, our internal resources on how we can further improve the IamIP platform so that it really fulfills all the things that you need. And that's why I'm so happy. I have to go in this direction to have 1 more person with me in the call. So maybe Wojciech, you can introduce yourself, who you are, what you are doing.
Sure, thank you much, Victor. Good morning, I'm Wojtek, I'm CTO at IamIP. I'm responsible for our technology and development. First time in a webinar, so I'm really happy that I will be able to share some insights with you today.
Perfect. So meaning for all of you that are joining, as I'm not that deep into the technology, if you have potentially any as well technology questions towards the end, Wojciech and myself will talk a bit about what's going to happen further on. So then you can as well ask some advanced questions to Wojciech. Perfect. But then I think let's get started in general. So if I just move to the next slide here. So let me activate it exactly. And yeah, there we go. So what are we going to talk about today? You see, we have 3 different points here on the agenda. At the beginning, I will just take a very brief introduction to IamIP. As addressed, there are now some people that don't know us yet that much, but very shortly. And then we will right away get to the background on why we are here and on why IamIP has been working on the AI space in the recent, not only weeks, but recent months and years. And then we, in the second part of this webinar, really go into the details. Now, I would like to share 2 main modules, functionalities, where we use AI to really help you save time, reduce risks. And then, of course, I would like to as well show that to you in live. As always, we have our GoToWebinar control panel here. So meaning if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please just put them in there. I have as well my colleague Claire with me. I think many of you know Claire from, let's say, our our support panel in the IamIP platform. So Claire is behind the scenes helping us out, and she will take care of the questions and raise them to me either throughout the presentation if it really fits perfectly, or towards the end of our session. Good, but then first of all, before we get started with all the details, I would like to warm us up a little bit, and therefore I'm just quickly switching the screen. So first of all, so let's choose the right one. There we go. I think it would be interesting to know a bit more from all of you. Where are you located, and in particular, what is the weather on your side? So is it still summertime? I mean, I can just talk about Cologne. Due to whatever reasons, we really had a coming back of a second summer, with I think today even 25 degrees. But as well, I know from some other colleagues in the other offices that it's already getting quite cold. So how is it on your side? So still, some are still in summer, some are in autumn. So yeah, seems to be a quite good mix. But then let's continue to the next part, which is maybe a bit more of interest, so that I as well know how I can potentially twist the coming slides, so that you can really take with you as much as possible from today's webinar. So what is your role in your company? What are you doing? Okay, a lot of IP managers. But then as well R&D, attorney search, we even have a few others. Okay. So yeah, so I think IP, so maybe it's like 50-50 with R&Ds that are catching up. So good to know. And then 2 things, the last 2 questions where I'm really curious. So the first one is really about this week's monitoring. So in IamIP, monitoring is this automated search robot that finds relevant patents for you on a weekly basis, for example. So if you just look at this week, I mean, how many documents were captured on your end? So nobody was more than 500, so that sounds good. Okay, but otherwise a quite good mix, and still a large amount that really have a lot of data to process. And yeah, then the last question. So from all these documents that you found, like how much of those did you really go into details? Okay, so a little bit like expected. I mean, you wouldn't go into details for all the 500 that you found, but yeah. So most of you really had about up to 10 really important documents per week. Yeah, perfect. But that's a good starting point for me, and I really feel that we have something nice to show to you today. So therefore, let me just get back to the correct screen on the agenda, and Yeah, so first of all, the ones that don't know IamIP, just a very, very big introduction. You see, we are now already in the 12th year, so quite an established player on the market. And our key focus is to provide all of you with a tool for the third-party patent handling process. So mainly the monitoring and the collaborative monitoring process. And the idea has basically come up when myself and the other founders previously worked really on UN. So when we regularly had to go through the patent monitoring process ourselves, where we really felt that the available tools back then didn't really have an option to work digitally together. So we always ended up in Excel files and PDFs. We had a big challenge when colleagues left us because there was no real centered knowledge base. So all these things we wanted to resolve with the IamIP platform. And as you see, as of today, we have around 370 customers-ish. Today, we have not only the headquarter in Sweden anymore, but 3 offices as well in Germany and Poland. And I think what's really important to address is that we have our whole server infrastructure and ISO certified server centers located here in Germany, so GDPR conform. Good, but then let's continue. So if we talk about the background, so meaning why are we actually here? And in general, our customers that I'm talking to you facing, let's say, different types of problems. And I just took a little bit the liberty to take some like very exemplary pictures here. So when I'm aligning with our customers, in particular at the beginning, it is always a lot about I'm having basically too many hits to review. I think we saw a few cases in the survey at the beginning where we have maybe a few hundred documents to go through. As well here very often, Victor, you know, the number increases like from week to week. Just to give you some insights from our side as a, let's say, data supplier to you. I think 3 weeks ago, we just received, I think, 80,000, 90,000 publications just from China. So meaning there's really like a huge amount of increase. As well, that leads to the fact that many of our customers are forced to narrow their search strings. So they are not able to really cover the whole scope anymore because it's just too much. And in line with that, the patent language per se is as well, let's say, a challenge. So meaning whenever you go through really relevant documents, it sometimes can take a lot of time to understand the patent. In line with what you see on the right-hand side, that this happens basically every week again. So meaning you get the new hits on Monday and you barely manage on Friday to get through all the new hits, and then the week after the circle starts again. So meaning this is really a major problem for our customers. And that's why we really thought, okay, what can we as IamIP do to really help out here? Because we always get the question, I mean, how could we improve this? Now, how could we be faster in going through the hits without missing important ones? Because all of us just have a limited amount of time available. And therefore, let's say if we break it down, we basically have 2 problems to tackle. So we have on the one hand the problem, how could we somehow efficiently scan through a large amount of patent documents? This is, let's say, the challenge number 1. And the second challenge is how could we somehow quickly go through single patent documents that need a deeper assessment, so to say, which have been maybe identified as relevant. So this is some of the second challenge. And therefore, for both of these points, I'm happy to share some painkillers for you today, and that will hopefully, make your life easier in the use of this third-party patent monitoring process. Good. So let's jump into the solution. The very first one is our AI Patent Categorizer, and this is really connected to this initial challenge that I addressed. So meaning you have a large amount of documents per week, and it is maybe increasing with time. So how could this be handled in a more efficient way? And therefore, if we just start, typically in our, let's say, in the first discussion that I'm having with our customers, we go through how is your current process, and this is typically presented here on the left-hand side. So let's say it's the beginning of the week. A number of new patents have been captured. Let's say in this case 5, but as we saw before, it could be 50, it could be 500. So a certain data set of patents captured, and you really stepwise go through them. And the ones which are of relevance, this one here, for example, you then decide, okay, this is of importance, this needs to be analyzed deeper, and these other patents that you see here in a light blue, these are the not relevant ones, and these you basically can just delete. And I think it's a quite typical example that I'm showing here, that normally, or in many cases, like 60% is noise and is to be deleted. We even have, I mean, we have special cases where, for let's say chemical areas, where it is very tough to have a good search string. So there could even be 70, 80% which you just delete. So meaning a majority of your time is really spent on basically going through not relevant documents and deleting them. So therefore the question is, how could we now transform this into a, let's say, a more a time-saving approach, that you really can spend your valuable time on the relevant patent documents. And this is where our so-called AI categorizer comes into place. So let's say we still have the same monitoring, the same search alert that is running on a weekly basis. We just enhance it with IamIP's AI categorizer. And what is changing now? It's the following. The categorizer is scanning all these 5, 10, 50, 500 patent documents for you, and it's basically classifying all patent documents themselves in relevance. So relevance 0 means this is not relevant. Relevance 1 means this is relevant for you. And it even gives you an indication of how important these documents are really. So it's a scale from 0 to 1, or 0 to 100. So 100 means this is the most critical patent. Let's say if it's relevant. Or if it goes down, I don't know, 30, 20, 10, then it's maybe a bit like a gray zone document. It is somehow relevant, but maybe not so critical. So it's really a scaling that we have introduced. Okay, so step 1, we have now some enhanced and rich data set, but of course it still doesn't help us that much, because we want to really reduce our valuable time spent. And therefore, if we move along in a second step, we can sort, and eventually, and this is the final, let's say, outcome, we can even filter out only those which are relevant and are of importance for us. And I think now you really see this implication in this work, from let's say going through all documents manually on the left-hand side to only those 30%, 40%, 50% which are really important for you and need to be checked. So I mean, you can spend your quality time really on the relevant patent documents. Good. So that's let's say the top level. And how do we achieve that? So meaning, what is behind the scenes? And just to give you some more input here, that we actually have been working already since 2017 in the AI space with different cooperations to universities. But the outcomes have never been that successful at this point in time. That we really said this can be productionized, because we always have the focus to only bring out functionality that really work and that really make an added value for you. And therefore, we were very happy that we could execute a strategic development together with Sartorius around 3 years ago, that really basically came to this AI patent categorizer. And it uses a large language model to really analyze the whole patent document And that's what you see here. So meaning it really goes through title, abstract, claims, description, and applicant. So the full patent specification, which I think is a major improvement somehow, because I recall from my previous times that when I was doing this review work, let's say you maybe had 150 patent documents, and of course I'm a human being, so at some time concentration slips. At some time as well I think, okay, I found these 2 or 3 keywords on the title abstract, so I will just remove it because these parts are not relevant. But maybe somewhere down in the description is another embodiment which tells you something important. So meaning I think this is really one of the key advantages here, that the AI, the computer, is not, let's say is always concentrated. He's not getting tired, he's not getting stressed, he's not on vacation, he's not sick. So you can evaluate every patent with the same accuracy. So really everything is taken in, and as you saw before, as an output you get these 2 parts of the relevance level and the confidence level to really play with. Good. Now I can imagine that some of you are wondering, okay, Victor, but how does it work? So you just take a patent in and it knows what is important for me or not without any, let's say, further input. That sounds a bit like magic. And therefore, I will just show you a little bit how we approach this monitoring setup with AI, because what is really important that we train it specifically for you. So we had tested a number of different processes, and the process which really leads to the best results is that we, with the data scientists, train dedicated models for your specific use case, to then make sure that these models as well really run as perfect as possible. And therefore, in IamIP, when we set it up, it's typically a 2-step process. So you can more or less draw a line here. So meaning at the beginning, we address with you, like, where do you have challenges? Because maybe if you have 3 monitorings and 2 of them only yield, let's say, 10 patents per week, I mean, this normally is something we can handle manually. So there's no AI categorizer needed. But the 3rd monitor maybe catches these 100, 150 documents. So meaning then we really say, let's focus on this monitoring. And then we gather training data for you. So meaning we really need to receive some evaluated data from your side to be able to set up an AI model. And this is typically a list of relevant patents and not relevant patents. And what I can share here, that we have made a major breakthrough as well, or a major update here throughout the August time, because previously we always needed, or we recommended, to use around 200 relevant patents for the training, which often was a big challenge for our customers, because maybe if they are just getting started, they don't have that amount of training. And now with our version, let's say 2.0, or the improved AI categorizer version, we can even train models with just 25 or even less patent documents as the starting point. So it really helps to quickly get started, and then of course with time it can always be improved. But meaning we get the training data from your side, we train then the model for you, and then let's say the quotation mark normal routine is getting started in the IamIP platform, where at the beginning of the week the new patents are captured. Now right away our AI models go through them and assign them in the relevant and not relevant buckets, and then you basically can just go through them and make your normal follow-up process on seeing what is now really critical, where do we need to take actions, and of course, like you see on the button, you can always retrain things. So if the technology changes, maybe new relevant fields are appearing, or maybe even after the initial training it is not yet optimal, we can retrain the model like a number of times, as long as it is then really fitting your use case. Good. So then let's have a very quick look. I will later on go live into it, but just that you have a feeling, this is how it looks in IamIP. So all patent documents are getting these two new flags for relevance and confidence. And this is then what really helps you to save time and to focus on the patent documents that really need your focus and not on other things. Good. But then let's continue to the second challenge. Now you may recall the initial challenge was about how can we handle the mass or the huge amount of patents popping up on a weekly basis, and we somehow can make a check on this one. And now the most recent update we just released 18 days ago or 19 days ago on the 1st of September is really for handling the second challenge that we have. So meaning if you now identified a number of patent documents that you need to review, how can you somehow quickly and clearly understand the patent document? Because one of the key focuses or one of the key things that we in IamIP do is to really democratize the patent data. So we have a business model where you can basically involve as many users as you want, which are often as well R&D engineers, which don't work, let's say, 40 hours per week with patents. So just maybe half an hour per week, or maybe just every month once. And for them, the patent language is really a big challenge. So I always like to use this example of a ladder. We talk about this is a patent for a ladder, but the patent attorney may write this is a device to overcome height differences using a number of vertically and horizontally aligned wooden sticks. So meaning for people which are not used and not continuously work in this language, it can be really tough if they get a patent sent for review to understand this document quickly. And as they anyhow have a very limited amount of time, then we should really help them out to review the patent documents. And in order for you to show how this AI summary works in IamIP, I found actually an interesting slide from one of the trainings that we have been doing from the past, so meaning where we at the beginning show our end users how do you actually analyze a patent document, just as an example case. And this is again some screenshots from IamIP. So you see here on the right hand side how the patent family looks like that needs to be reviewed, the title, the summary. We have the family members, the pictures, and then when you go into the details, you have, of course, claims, description, all these kind of things. And the typical process was we quickly look at title and abstract. If there's already something which really sticks out, maybe you right away can delete it or move it along. If it's maybe still not clear, let's have a look at the pictures. If this doesn't help out, let's look at the claims, let's look at the description, let's look at any other bibliographic data. So meaning just like you see on the left-hand side, there are potentially 5 dedicated steps that needed to be done. Now the improvement with the AI summary is, I think, quite significant. We still have the same initial starting point. We look at the title, we look at the description, the abstract. If it's maybe not yet clear, we look at the picture, and then really the AI summarizer comes into play. So meaning, if it's still, I don't really know, there's no need at this point to really go through the claims, the description. You can just order a summary. Now, to be clear, this is now a technical summary at the current moment. You read the technical summary, and maybe you directly understand what it is about, and then you can either delete or save it. Or if you are still a bit questioning, you at least exactly know what you're looking for. And then you don't need to just go through claims and description as is. You can really search specifically for the parts that are interesting from you from the summary. So meaning, again, a significant improvement of quickly knowing where to look and avoiding time. Then again, a little bit more concrete. Now, what have we done here? in terms of the IamIP AI Summarizer. One thing I would like to really highlight, that one of our founders, actually Falo Sini, he's now, let's say, getting towards the retirement. So he was a former R&D manager at ABB, and I think in his name there are like 47 families, with 100 plus single patent application. And we have really together with him analyzed what is critical for you, for an R&D person, to really get this technical summary. So he has really helped a lot in let's say specifying the process and as well verifying it, that it really works, let's say, perfectly. And we have tried it on basically all of his own inventions, and our summarizer really was able to pick out all the key technical aspects. So meaning we are using a language model for that. In this case, it's now a generic one. We don't need to specifically train a model like we need to do for the categorizer. And it actually goes through the whole description, analyzes again everything, so nothing is left out, nothing is forgotten, and it then provides you with an executive technical summary, really covering the core of the invention. And what I think is now really unique in this process, that's why I somehow like to call it a bit the translator, because it really makes this or bridges this gap from the legal language, which maybe we understand, but maybe not all of us are, or all our colleagues are understanding, to this, let's say, non-legal everyday language. Of course, it's technical content, but at least it is really easily to understand and processable.
Sorry, Victor, someone just has a question.
Yep.
Why don't we analyze the claims in the summarizer?
That's a good point, and we will talk about it later on in the next steps. So meaning we initially wanted to provide both a technical summary and as well a protective summary, but the protective summary wasn't really good. That's why we decided we need more input, we need to make more review to really provide you with a, let's say, high quality legal or protective summary. And this is what I expect to be one of our next project for now, the Q4. We got a lot of input already as well from the IamIP community, but we will address it later on again. Good, but then at least thanks for the question. And very briefly, before we jump in to the IamIP platform to really show that live to you, is, I mean, what implications do these two functions now have? And I think first of all, in general, it's a major time saver, because you can really, on the one hand, only focus on what is really relevant for you. You have as well an option to prioritize your tasks. That's meaning if you know I have a deadline on Friday, I only have 30 minutes, the IamIP AI Categorizer really helps you to just identify the top 10 patents, let's say. One thing which I as well found really interesting, we have now a number of customers that actually starts to broaden their search strings, because previously they just didn't have the manpower to make a full coverage of their technical field. So they were forced to narrow the search string. But now as the AI model and the computer can, I mean, it doesn't care if it's 10, 100 or 1,000 documents, they really start to broaden the search string again, so that the patents which are initially left out by the narrowed search string are now in again, and they can really ensure even better freedom to operate. Apart from this, of course, as well, misinterpretations are avoided, and I think you can even distribute the tasks of reviewing patents more. It's not the one expert that needs to do everything. You can really just spread the world or spread the work in the whole company, and everybody is now, many more people are now easily able to review patent documents. Good, but then let's jump in. So if we are now in the IamIP platform, now of course, you know, we are a big fan of bikes. So we have another subsidiary, IamBikes. And for the ones that don't know the IamIP platform, very briefly, this is, let's say, the homepage once you log in. So meaning you have the main functions on the left-hand side, And then you have, let's say here are your different search alerts, the monitorings. So this reoccurring automated searches. You have an overview of legal status watches. And on the right-hand side, we even have some portfolios, meaning the final storage places. So let's assume now we are working in this damper project. So we want to create a new bike which has some nice suspension at the front, and we have an according technology watch set up. As you see now, there are a total of 102 documents to review. And we see as well that our AI categorizer is activated. So every patent has been assessed already. So we see here a relevance 0. So this means this patent is not of relevance for you. If you scroll down, we have a patent with a relevancy 1. So this is of relevance, in this case for me. And we as well see the grading on the confidence level. So this is now confidence 53. So it's like a medium range. Maybe we have somewhere else. I mean, there we had confidence 93 for not relevant. So it really shows, let's say, how relevant or not relevant the document is. If you now look back, like the traditional way would now be for me, just go through the patent document, analyze the pictures, analyze the claims. I can maybe just move certain things out to a separate pop-up, but it's really time consuming. And now the main added value is that from the starting point, we say, okay, I will now only look at the patents which are really of relevance for me. So I'm filtering for relevancy 1. And you see from 102 patents, after filtering down, only 50 of those are relevant. So right away, more than 50% of the data set I can just neglect because this is not important for my area. Let's say I'm having, as mentioned, an important meeting end of the week, and I really just have maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour. I maybe say, I only want to look at the most critical patent documents from these 50. So 50 are relevant, but maybe some are just, a bit state of the art, some may be interesting, and only 2, 3, or 10 are maybe really critical. So let me really start with those first, that I review them this week, and then at least I have a good, stomach feeling, and I'm a bit relieved if I went through them. And therefore, we could, for example, say, let's show everything which has a confidence higher than 75. And now we are going down to exactly 10, which is somewhat interesting because you may recall from the beginning, initially, when we had the survey, that as well, many of you said that you only reviewed up to 10 documents in depth per week. So this is maybe really in line. And now I really start analyzing just these 10 documents. And if you maybe say, I will go a little bit down here, a training link multi-bar suspension. Okay, what does multi-bar mean? So if we now go to this challenge 2, so challenge 1 done, now we have reduced the data set. Now we are going to challenge 2. How can I quickly understand this document? Then we now have on the right-hand side our AI summarizer, which will now analyze the whole description and really summarize the core of the invention and present it to you, so that I don't have to go through the whole description myself. It's really enough to just look at this technical summary. And you see really, it's all about this. So just a few sentences, very brief, written in a normal everyday language. We even show some key advantages that we extract from the text. And now I could just go through it. So we have some floating pivot somewhere with a trading configuration. And this would really be enough for me to judge if it's now something critical or not. What I can do then, as we always address the, let's say, knowledge database, you see right away, we allow you to directly store that. So if I say, oh yeah, very good summary, I want to keep that for myself, or I want to keep that for my colleague later on, it's really just one click away, and we have saved it really now in the portfolio. And this is even then searchable later on. Or if you maybe want to, I don't know, share it by email to someone else, of course, you see we can even copy it. Then one thing for us, which is really helpful, if you can even give us some feedback on how good or bad it is, so that we can even further improve the summary. Great. Then let's get back. You may know, of course, that the summarizer has not been out very, very long, but we at least got already some initial feedback from the people using it. And I just want to give you like top level, I think, the key findings that we had so far. And if you maybe jump on the right-hand side, what I think is important for me, and which is really in line with what Fala said, that I think around 92% of everybody that participated in this survey said that basically all technical aspects were really captured. So meaning ticking the box. The second question, which I think is important to address, was the length of the summary, because if the summary is the same length as the description, that doesn't really make sense. And therefore, as well, you see here around, I think that was 70% said that the length of the summary is really sufficient. It's good enough, and I get enough feedback to really take the decision on going deeper or not. And then the most important part, and where I was very, very happy about, is the potential time saving here, or the time saving per se. And you see that I think this is like 3% that there's no time saving at all. Then we had around 41, 32% which say that it's in this case 50 minutes per document they are saving. By the same amount, around 40 or 39, I think, said it's 5 minutes they save per document. And then we even had one part that really said, I think it's again the 3-4%, they say, okay, it even saves me up to 30 minutes per document. So really, getting into the details, getting into the language. So this really shows that there's a huge potential. Great, but then, I mean, we already had the question about the legal summary, so I think it's good to share a little bit what IamIP is doing next. And therefore, first of all, just a little bit of a remark. You all, or many of you may know that we have a so-called IamIP community. So it's a community from IamIP customers solely for IamIP customers. So really out of, let's say, our scope. And the community meets regularly to discuss things about IamIP or even other things. And now in terms of the summarizers, we are in frequent contact to really get some guidance from the community, what should be as well really the most important next steps. So there was already some additional discussion this week, even some workshops are potentially coming up beginning of October. But I really encourage maybe the IamIP customers that are not yet part here, if you want to contribute in an easy way to the roadmap of IamIP on this AI parts, I mean, feel free to reach out to us so that we can connect you to the community, because that's really helpful for me as a CPO to get really consolidated feedback from a larger user base so that we can really continue developing the things that you need. So really take that. But then if you now really talk about the, let's say, our IamIP IT team, I mean, I have Wojciech with me. We would like to as well share a little bit on the feedback that we have received so far and where we are currently discussing on the next steps. So therefore, maybe Wojciech a little bit in general, like what have we received so far? What plans do we have as the next steps for these AI parts? Can you share a bit your opinion and your impact there?
Yeah, sure. So starting maybe from the second project that you presented, but the newer one, Summarizer. So obviously, as you said, Summarizer is running just for 2 weeks and 3 days at the moment for our customers, but we already know what needs to be done next. So from the let's say smaller improvements on the platform, definitely you can expect soon translations to any language that is currently supported in our document translation. As you gave us a feedback that customers like to read that in their native language. So the next things are more R&D side, which we cannot guarantee when they will be done. So precise, but definitely the mentioned legal summarizer. As you said, we already started working on that, but as we want to really always deliver top quality to our customers, it's still not yet there. Claims are quite difficult to summarize in a good way. But the one thing which is as well asked, the patent comparer. So the new tool to compare the content of two patents and underline really the key differences. That will start soon in our R&D pipeline. So I can't say how this looks like at the moment. It's too early, but let's be positive here.
Maybe just so we jumping in, Wojciech, that's why, like we addressed in the slide before, and if you have good inputs about like what do you expect, what could help you, because I think we discussed it with Wojciech, like should it be just this div, thing like, you know, this track changes in Word where you just see differences, or should it be anything else? So there's really your input needed from the end user side.
Exactly, the community input will be great for us, because we can solve that on so many different ways, and at the end of the day it must work for you, not for us. So categorizer, so our older feature, but at the moment we are finishing a new add-on to that, the outlier detection. Maybe you can give us a little bit highlight what is outlier.
I can do that. So a little bit of a background there. When we are, let's say, analyzing and categorizing these patent documents, relevant or not, one thing that is often very interesting to as well understand if there are maybe new trends. So let's say you have a monitoring up and running for technology scouting or generally technology watch, and all of a sudden someone, you know, a competitor is really getting up some patents which are from something completely new. And this is something that we want to highlight for you, that there are some new trends appearing. So meaning there will be, you may saw that at the beginning that there were, let's say, 2 flags available, relevance and confidence. So in the future, there's even a third one that really helps you to quickly identify new white spots, new trends. So things which have not popped up in this matter in the monitorings. And second of all, which is well important, it really helps us to improve your model, because we could even scan your training data set at the beginning. As mentioned, we receive from you a number of patent documents that are relevant or not to train the specific AI model that knows, let's say, what is relevant for you. And with this, let's say, process that Wojciech addressed, we can even scan your raw data set before we train the model, because maybe there are 2 or 3 patents that are really out of scope and would bias the model. So it has really, I think, a major impact on the performance and as well on identifying trends.
Exactly, better training data, better model, simple as. So yes, that will come out in 2 phases. So the phase with the training outlier detection, that will come really soon. So on all our new models, we will be using that, and one which will help with the trends should come really later this year. Other things, I know that customers were asking for sorting improvement, so that should soon appear on our platform as well. If you can give us some more details on that one.
Yeah, maybe as well a short background there. And as you have seen in the patent list, when you have those relevancy flags, you could, for example, sort by them to see the relevant ones at the top and the not relevant ones further down at the bottom. And what we want to enhance here is that the sorting is basically 2-dimensional. So meaning that at the top is a patent with the relevance 1 and the highest confidence value, so the most critical one. And then the further you go down in the list, the less important the patents are, so that you can really thinking about this case that you have an important deadline on Friday. You jump in on Monday, make this two-dimensional thought.
Okay, either I've lost you, Victor, or I lost my internet. Claire, can you support us here?
Yeah, I think Victor is just temporarily frozen.
Okay, so we are still live, so I will take it from here. So the second feature here, really to improve that sorting, is the confidence value, because we got feedback from customers that the confidence value is not so much understandable. So soon we start our next R&D project, which will be really improvement of that value, so it should be better propagated in the range of 0 to 1 or 0 to 100, and that should really then support that sorting. The other completely brand new feature that we will be doing there, it's the document tagger. So in the same way as we are able to, based on your data, say that the document is relevant or not, we will start now testing the solution with more input. So we will be able to take your tags, and on the new monitorings or searches, we will be able to tag documents in the same way as you did before. Victor, we lost you for some time, so I just continued on the confidence value and the tagger.
Perfect. Good. Yeah, some internet connection issues, but now I'm back.
Okay.
Great.
Great. Yeah, I covered that area. So
perfect. But then I think maybe again a little bit as the next step, the open questions to the whole audience. I mean, do you have any questions now? And this was basically the last slide that we had. So really thanks a lot for your attention. We just want to raise a bit now that we have now this free trial phase throughout the September months. So it's 2 weeks left where you can really test it up and down, left and right as much as you want. So really take this chance to see. And then basically the last part is really, do you have any questions to myself, to Wojciech, to IamIP, or even to the let's say Claire maybe, or Claire, anything that has maybe already popped up that you?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. You may have covered them, but maybe it might be good to re-emphasize them. Just somebody wants to know what makes the summary different from the abstract.
That's a good point, and the abstract is in many cases, I mean, first of all, it's written by the attorney per se, so meaning it is a little more, I mean, a subjective way, and often just let's say a very quick summary more on the claim size, on the claims, and the key, let's say the key focus areas, and the summary that we have created is really a generic technical summary. So it's really quite, in many cases, quite different, because it takes really all the relevant key technical aspects in it. It somehow explains those and really highlights the core invention with the key benefits. And as well, it is really written in this, let's say, non-legal wording. Because often in the claim, I mean, the abstract, you see it's quite compact. It has this maximum limit of just a few hundred words. So meaning it is very compressed and often very legally written, so to say.
I may add as well that the summary is done by us. So, you know, we are trying to summarize that in the best way. Yeah, so it's not written by someone with any intentions like in abstract. Yeah,
exactly.
Great. I just have a couple more. Does your LLM-based categorizer tell the user why it has identified a certain patent to be relevant? I.e., does it tell the user where in the patent relevant aspects have been found?
I think it's a very good question, and I can just share with you that Wojciech and myself, we have a lot of discussions around this in the last weeks, how we could make let's say, the results more understandable and clear for the end user. So we have a number of ideas of how we could really, let's say, present that to you as the end user. Let's say once we, let's say, we are ready to share more, we will do that. But there are some ideas and some discussions already how to do that.
It's definitely on the agenda, but as Victor said, it's not so, let's say, easy to do it in a way that we will be confident that this works as intended.
I have one more. Do you have any indication of how much energy is used by the AI to carry out this work? Meaning kWh?
That's I cannot.
Sorry, no.
So, but it's I mean, of course, there are specific GPUs doing that job, so it's not the standard CPU. Yeah, I cannot. At least I don't have that knowledge. But maybe something interesting to check up for us.
I think that's everything basically on my side.
Perfect. And then, well, thanks a lot for all of you to join. If you have any more questions, I mean, just directly share that to me or to Wojciech or to the support@IamIP.com. Yeah, thanks all for your time and have a nice remaining week.
Thank you very much. See you.
Bye-bye.